the country, spontaneous teen takeovers are popping up.
Teen takeover. Teen takeovers.
Teen takeovers. Let me ask you a question. How do they know it's a teen takeover? Because they can use their eyes and recognize that the people who are there are teens? Well, if you use those same eyes, what else can you discern about 99% of the teens in these takeover videos? That's right, they're all black teens, but you're not allowed to make that observation. No, these are just teens. Don't notice anything else. So why does it matter what race they are? I can hear a liberal shriek. Simple. How can you solve a problem if you're unwilling to admit what the problem is? After yet another teen takeover in Florida, this time a wild one in Tampa Bay, James Fishback, a candidate for governor of Florida, went off at this press conference.
It was not a teen takeover. What happened here on Friday night was a riot. We are not going to be able to address this issue because we're denying what it truly is. It's quite fitting that members of the media, including some here today, had no issue calling the events of January 6th a violent insurrection, when in fact no one was charged with insurrection. One thing that we have to confront is that black youth violence is a problem in Florida. The truth of the matter is that the group here on Friday night was almost exclusively young and black. There's something to be said about the root causes that lead a 12-year-old who was arrested here on Friday night to riot without parental supervision. 72% of black kids born today will be born to an unmarried mother. I'm here to announce 3 policies that would take effect immediately if I were governor. We will be charging anyone who participates in a so-called teen takeover with Florida State Statute 870-01, a third-degree felony of rioting. I'm also going to instruct state attorneys, including right here in the 13th Judicial Circuit, to make it so that any teen who is charged with aggravated rioting is charged as an adult. Number 2, we're going to stand up a social media youth disruption unit tasked by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in my first month as governor to lawfully and constitutionally monitor incitement and threats of riots like the one took place here, to disrupt them before they begin, and that includes me as governor activating the Florida National Guard. And number 3, what I'm going to direct the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to do is to convene a 5-person panel of law enforcement, business leaders, and most importantly, our church leaders, to look at the root causes of black youth crime and to prepare a report to give to me as the governor within my first 90 days. There are real opportunity gaps in low-income communities here in Tampa. There's no doubting that. But an opportunity gap is not an excuse to riot. To the youth that were here on Friday night, let me make a very clear warning. Rioting has a 3-year statute of limitation. If I see a single kid from here on out participating in a so-called teenage takeover from the time that I am sworn as governor, I will retroactively have the state attorney's office charge you with rioting, and we are going to throw the book at you. You have been warned. We have 3 years to charge you, and we can definitely charge you over the next 8 months.
I'm done with them. It doesn't matter how old they are. This is the kind of violence that we end up with when we engage in those kinds of policies. And I'm asking the legislature to go back and look at the laws. Over the last 5 years before I became governor, or 8 years while I was attorney general, I watched nothing but hug-a-thug policies in this state, a watering down of our criminal justice system. In fact, people that go into common places and decide to engage in that kind of violence, we should put them away for life. I'm done with them. It doesn't matter how old they are. Somebody has failed. It's not the government's job to raise these people. It's common sense not to go into a public space with a gun and start shooting around blindly. If a judge chooses to hand down weak sentences to known violent actors, if a judge decides to turn violent offenders loose with minimal restrictions, if a judge fails to treat gang-driven violence without the gravity it deserves, I am going to call them out individually, publicly, clearly, and directly. And I mean, even the federal judges as well. If it's up to me, I'd send them all there for the rest of their lives. Next. I'm done with them. It doesn't matter how old they are. This is the kind of violence that we end up with when we engage in those kinds of policies. And I'm asking the legislature to go back and look at the laws. Over the last 5 years before I became governor, or 8 years while I was attorney general, I watched nothing but hug-a-thug policies in this state, a watering down of our criminal justice system. In fact, people that go into common places and decide to engage in that kind of violence, we should put them away for life.